Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Hashtag baseball only show starring JML with his co host.
Hey, it's Fire Frank here. All you baseball fanatics out there, hope you're having a good day whenever you listen to this.
I think you'll have a much better day than Frank and I. When we started this show, I think I was the doom and gloom one of, hey, Frank, I wouldn't get too excited about this Yankee start. And Frank was like, why? And I said, well, it seems like the offense, for better or worse, it centers around Judge. There's a bunch of players that are not living up to expectations around him. The pitching staff is starting to get heavily taxed, and we're getting over the head performances from our new closer, Clay Holmes. Yeah, so that has us a little upset, but you know, we're having bad days. But can you imagine being the San Diego Padres organization? So late last night, not late last night, but it was around 7:30. I was actually doing a live stream, break night hangout. I do it pretty much Monday through Friday here on this channel. Go live before the big card breakers, Run Good Life, Shy City Polls, and Hitman Rips. We were in the middle of opening. No, not even. It was when we started off the show. Someone in chat said, "Did you hear about Tatis?" And I said, "No. What happened?" I'm expecting, oh, he got reinstated off the injured list. The person in chat goes, PED suspension. I was booted him out of the chat, said, "What are you doing? Why are you trolling?" So then I had to pull it up on the computer, and I go, "Oh, well, he was right. I'm sorry." So I'm going to bring it up on the computer here. Tatis Jr. suspended 80 games for banned substance.
Jeez.
Now, since we started this show, we we both had the Padres as a potential World Series team. I'm not saying they're completely out of it now, but this is a huge, huge blow to the team. Obviously, when you go out and you make the moves that they did at the deadline, uh, you would, in addition to those moves being made, they were banking on this guy coming back and being the cherry on top to get them into not only October, but deep into October, potentially to the World Series. Frank, what do you think? What was your first reaction to this news?
My immediate reaction when I just read it, first of all, was like, what? Like you said, I had to do a double take. And also, I was just like, well, there goes another young face of the game.
Yep.
One of the guys we've been talking up, the face of his franchise so far, I guess until the Soto trade, and it's just so sad to see. I mean, obviously, it's a stupid decision, and his excuse was even made it even worse as usual. I don't know what he said. He had ringworm and he had some medication. Like, yeah, sure. Even if that's true, you don't take something that could get you, popped on a test.
Yep.
It's just, I don't understand it because they know they're going to get tested. What are you doing? I know you want to come back. Maybe you're in a hurry to come back, but there's no reason. You're literally one of he was on the show cover last year. This guy's one of the faces of the game, and now he's immediately tarnished at a young age.
Now he came out and said that it was treating. I'll wait for you to finish your soda.
Go ahead.
Ringworm. So he used a substance. Now, here, and I think I said this either last episode or 2 episodes ago. I said what worries me about Fernando Tatis is not his on the field performance. What did I say about him? And I said about Wander Franco as well. It's the off the field decision making, the maturity. So he was out all this time, not because he hurt his wrist, training. He hurt his wrist and broke it, motorcycle accident. Okay, so he's rehabbing it. Gets ringworm. I don't know how he got it, but whatever. He got ringworm. Takes the substance. Now, these guys, whatever they put in their body, whatever supplement, they can literally go to Major League Baseball and go, I'm taking this. Is there anything I should worry about? He did not do that. So again, his immaturity and his lack of decision making has cost him an entire year of baseball. And on top of that, games next year. This is not what you want out of your franchise player, your face of the franchise. And also, this is a black guy on the sport of baseball when one of your up and coming stars, 23-year-old, you have to suspend them for 80 games for something like this. Now, again, do I think necessarily he's on the Clemens and Bonds and Sheffield Sosa steroids? No. I think he was rehabbing, wanted to get back, took this whatever ointment, cream, whatever it was, to get back. And he got popped. So here's the thing that no one has mentioned, and I'm going to mention it. Do you remember a little report that was called the Mitchell Report? Whose name was on that list?
Talk about Big Papi, right?
Well, no, not Big Papi.
Oh no, he was on the report. I'm sorry.
That was the
leaked
yep.
test results. Yeah, my fault.
So the Mitchell Report named 103 players. Okay. One name that sticks out to me on this list, and I'll show you. I'll bring it up. Hold on. Number 62.
Oh, I should have known. That's correct.
So when your father, and everyone's leaving this out, like,
that's a really good point, man.
His father was a major league player, and at one time he was an above average major league player. Okay. Was he a superstar? No. But he had ability. He was not a bad player in the league. I could bring up his stats as well to back me up. But he took steroids. It's right there. He took it. He at one time this guy took it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His son or his sons, because he's got multiple sons that play baseball, obviously they're following suit here. It's bad. I don't know why not a single person has brought this up.
Well, they might now if they're seeing the show. Gee, I completely forgot about that, but I do remember him being on the list. So yeah, that you would think that would have that's very remarkable. That's all I'll say. I mean, you would think that would be on his mind before. Like you said, even if you're really taking something you're not sure about, why wouldn't you go ask? They have resources for these players. They know what they're supposed to and what they can't take.
It's a cop out. Everyone says, they have the same excuse. Or Andy Pettit, I only took it once to rehab this injury. It's like, no, if you took it once, you took it multiple times.
Even if that was true, just saying that it doesn't really help, because nobody's gonna believe you at that point anyway. But But the only one who was kind of honest was Giambi, but he just kind of in a roundabout way, but he didn't like make excuses for it. But jeez.
And Fernando Tatis Sr., he had a weird major league career. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember why he missed so many years.
I'll be honest. The only thing I remember about his father, was besides him just being a player for many years, was
He hit 2 grand slams
he
in
hit
one
the two
inning.
grand slams in the one inning. Right. That's all everybody remembers about. That's like the first time I heard his name. And that's the only thing I kind of remember him for. Although I guess I should remember from being on the Mitchell Report, but that list was pretty long. Yeah.
Well, he had a lot of injuries after that year with the Cardinals. So let me pull it up.
Go ahead. Just take a look at his stats.
So at 24 years old, okay, how old's his son right now? 23?
I believe so.
Okay, so same age.
Mm-hmm.
Superstar year, right? If you think about it, 34, 107,
Nice.
553, 957 OPS. So he was on the verge of superstardom. Drops off the cliff because of injuries. Boom, boom, gets traded. Basically, retires, comes back, and plays again. So it wasn't like he was a scrub player. He got hurt. He also got popped on the Mitchell list. Teams probably didn't want to sign him because remember, Mitchell list came out 2003, 2004, right?
Yeah.
Look at his inactivity.
I think it came out what 2007. I want to say because it was after Clemens' last stint with the Yankees. I remember
that.
Right?
No, I think it came out before then.
I could swear it was after he pitched his last game for us, but maybe I'm wrong. But either way, around that same time, say the same number of years.
Yep. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's like their father, but again, he's in the same profession as his father. I'm sure he goes to his father for advice. His father probably said, "Hey, I dealt with a lot of injuries in my career, and when I rehabbed, I did this." Okay, so let's put 2 and 2 together here. They knew what they were doing. Don't accept his lame excuse, okay? As much as people don't like this person, I like the Jason Giambi way of, yes, I took it. That's it.
Yeah. No excuses. Just I mean, he said something. I did that stuff. Whatever he said, but he basically copped to it. Did not say, "Well, this is why I had an injury." Just I took it. I shouldn't have.
And it's not Sammy Sosa who would speak English in everywhere, but then he goes up to Congress and he couldn't speak English. Do these guys realize? And maybe they just don't care. Okay. This is another Robinson Cano scenario with Tatis.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is a superstar. Has been so far in his career. Has the ability to be much bigger than his father was, and still does. Honestly,
he still does.
Back to this, doesn't make another mistake. But like you said, no matter what his father did, that was also a different time. That was in the period right before they started this testing. Before Rafael Palmeiro went.
It was an unwritten rule
and said, "I did not take steroids," and then 2 weeks later he gets.
It was an unwritten rule,
right? Unwritten rule. Like I notice a lot of fans that, oh, no big deal. And, I used to be a little bit like that, but now look, like now, come on, guys. We can talk about, okay, a lot of people were doing it back then. We'll have to reevaluate that period under a different lens. But it's 2022.
I'm on the side of you can't throw out a whole period of baseball because they did steroids.
Right.
What you can do is you could put an asterisk to all their records, especially the guys that that took the steroids based on Mitchell report, based on failed drug tests.
Right.
So players
That's fair.
like Clemens, Bonds, A-Rod, Sheffield, Sosa, McGuire,
Yeah.
those guys should all be in the Hall of Fame.
No question.
It
Yeah.
should all be in the Hall of Fame. People may if you disagree, put it in the comments, but they should all be in the Hall of Fame. Put an asterisk. I
Where are you
mean,
gonna
Roger
put it?
Maris had one. Remember, Roger
Yeah.
Maris did his record in more games than Babe Ruth, and they had an asterisk next to
They
his
had two
record.
separate records for until unfortunately it happened right after he died. They changed it to show he was the true record holder. So yeah, there's a precedent for this. But at the same time, this is not. I want to make it clear we're not saying that it's okay to be doing this stuff, especially now with when you're being tested all the time. When there's even more, God knows what the designer steroids they're using now. It's just, it's unfortunate. Like because even if nothing ever happens again to Tatis Jr., he's always going to be remembered for this moment. This is going to be over his head his entire career.
So the thing is with steroids, right? How much more? Well, how much better does a player get, right?
Yeah.
So one of the examples that I always bring up is Barry Bonds, right? And then my second one's Clemens. But Bonds, let's just say, never took steroids until 19, well, let's say 2000.
Right. Okay.
His career from, I think it started in 86 or 87
Without
through
you.
that point was a Hall of Fame career
Yeah.
already. Would have been the Hall of Fame.
Easily.
Okay. Then he went to Herculean Heights, right? But did it really improve his power that much? Like what I think it improves more than anything, what they were taking with the HGH
Mm-hmm.
is the recovery. As
Yes.
they're getting older, being able to recover or bounce back from the rigors of the season,
You
which
hit it there. Yeah.
makes them fresher. It makes them more in tuned to the game because they're not as fatigued.
Huge
Now,
point there.
any stat and any player can get ripped apart. Barry Bonds had 73 home runs. That's the record. Put an asterisk next to it. Cool. He had a great career. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Honestly, because we talk about this all the time, we have Aaron Judge right now who's on a tear. And we don't think Judge takes steroids. So, out of all the clean campaigns, right, this is probably the best season we've ever seen. But if we include steroids, right, or those people that we know that took steroids, the Bonds, I'm going to bring it up just so you guys can see. Here we go. Let's start 2000. Okay. So in 2000, 49 and 106, 306 batting average, OPS 1127. Okay. Walked 117 times. Runner up in MVP. I remember who won the MVP and I'll give you bonus points if you remember.
2000.
Yes.
Ooh. Let's see, National League 2000.
Oh, it's easy.
2000.
It's so you're overthinking it.
I'm overthinking it.
Want me to tell you?
Go ahead, because I'm drawing a blank here. I shouldn't.
It was Jeff Kent. It was his teammate.
Duh.
So Jeff Kent won the MVP, even though he wasn't the most valuable player on his own team. Because if Bonds didn't get on base that many times, Jeff Kent wouldn't have had those numbers. So the following year, which is the year that everyone looks at, is the 73 homer, 137 RBIs, 328. Basically, numbers like we've never seen before. And he basically duplicates that with less home runs, more walks, because he basically just got intentionally walked all the time.
Yeah. Including with the bases loaded, I remember.
So from 2000 through 2004, this is the greatest offensive span in the history of baseball. You're telling me that there's no place in the Hall of Fame for this. But keep in mind, right? So he won 4 MVPs. The guy, when we said 2000 is the benchmark, from his first full year in 86 through 99, won one, two, three MVPs. How is he not in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, and I mean, he would hit
There's no
homers. He
rule.
had the power. He stole bases. He had average. He had everything even before that. Before he got to like video game numbers.
There's no rule that says if the person gets popped for steroids, they cannot enter the Hall of Fame. Okay, this is
Yeah,
not Pete Rose that bet on baseball, which is another thing we can talk about another time,
yeah,
where it he cannot go into the Hall of Fame. Again, why is Bonds not in the Hall of Fame? The other example, right, is Roger Clemens.
sure.
Now, where do you want to say he started taking steroids? We want to say Toronto?
Probably because that's where everybody, because he kind of had like his career rebirth after the Red Sox let him go. So yeah, we'll say around 97,
Okay.
98 maybe, which most people tend to put it at. Yeah, say
So
Toronto.
look at all the black ink, right? So he won 97s when he went to Toronto, right?
Yeah, and he won. I think did he win back-to-back Cy Youngs or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah,
He had 4 ERA titles, okay? 2 wins, strikeouts, 1, 2, 3, Cy Young MVP, Cy Young, Cy Young. So he had an MVP in 3 Cy Youngs, 192 wins with Boston, and almost he had 2,600 strikeouts. If he never played after pitching for Boston, he's in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
So my point is, I just use these two guys as an example. Those two should be in the Hall of Fame. I just don't. I don't get it, Frank. Talk me off my ledge here.
No, I mean I'm in the same boat with you, man. And because, like you said, look, there's ways you can statify this. You can. I mean, you can't, I guess, assume a year or whatever like that. It's tougher with these guys because these guys didn't actually, test positive. It's coming out reports years later. So, but best of our knowledge, like you said, his Boston career, and people thought he was winding up his career at the end of Boston. He was like a Hall of Famer. Maybe he wasn't first ballot. He would have been in there.
He would have been in, yeah.
And even after, like, and even if you look at his post Boston career, those 2 years in Toronto, he was otherworldly. When he was traded to the Yankees, he wasn't. His first couple of years, he was pretty good. Pitched some decent postseason games, and then he goes in what 2001, he wins another Cy Young. He was like 20.
2000, I think, right?
It was 2001. It was the year they lost to Arizona. He was the Cy Young that year. He won he started the season like 20-1 or something ridiculous.
2000, yeah, one. Yeah.
I remember he was going for his 20th win when 9/11
Yep.
happened. He got it after the fact. But the point is, I saw him pitch that year in Anaheim. But that was probably his best Yankee season.
He had high ERAs with the Yankees.
Yeah. He wasn't quite as sharp as he was in Toronto. I remember he had that game, 99 playoffs in Fenway, and he got lit up by the Red Sox. And that was the only game they lost.
And coincidentally enough, he goes to Houston.
Yeah, right after he
cheaters.
Yeah. And he has another couple of crazy years.
Wins another Cy Young.
Then
And he
he,
had that deal where he didn't have to travel on the road if he didn't have
yeah,
to pitch. Like some sweet
he
deal.
coaxed. Yeah, he kind of,
But bottom line, and we got way
yeah,
off in the weeds about the
yeah,
steroids and everything with Tatis,
right,
is I don't think necessarily because you take steroids, it, like you shouldn't be disallowed in the Hall of Fame. In this era, most of these 95% of these players probably took steroids. Some of them took them their whole career. I
yeah.
would bet every last dollar that Mark McGuire, every single year he was a player, took steroids.
Oh, sure. There's no testing. I mean, why wouldn't they?
But there's players in the Hall of Fame like Jeff Bagwell.
Yes, good call.
How was he in the Hall of Fame? You're telling me that guy never took steroids?
Yeah, if we had somehow were able to find out everyone that's currently in the hall that took steroids or even back in the day took all kinds of speed something to help them their performance. I mean, you'd be disqualifying people left and right.
Think about it. Some of the greatest players that we've seen play, right? A-Rod, Bonds, Clemens, hitters, right? Manny Ramirez, Sammy Sosa. These guys were talents. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them fueled by steroids, but you're telling me that we're just going to take away this whole era, but then we allow other people in at the same time.
Yeah, and let me say this: as you said, these guys are talents. If steroids made you this Hall of Fame player, then me and you would be Hall of Fame players probably.
Yeah.
We would
It's
have just jumped on there, and then we would suddenly be good baseball players.
the and it's weird to say, but again, put an asterisk next to people's their names. Hey, they played in this era. We don't know how rampant it was.
If you want to, yeah, if you want to put it, put it. I mean, I don't care if you do or not. If you want to put that in there, put it, but put them in. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. It's not like I'm losing sleep because and we hear this a lot. Well, the 2000 Yankees had this many guys on steroids. This team had this many. I'm like, you're telling me Mike Piazza never took steroids?
I mean, and I love this. I love this guy. You're telling me Vlad Guerrero Sr. never took a steroid?
And
he never took a steroid?
Yeah, and it's not the most obvious. Everybody thinks that he's big, muscular guy. Like, there's plenty of stuff. Like, and you brought it up before. You hit the nail on the head. The biggest gain from this was recovery. And 100% why we're seeing players these days are being washed up by the time they're 35. Why is that?
No steroids.
No steroids. So what does that say? And I'm not accusing anyone. I know people are going to bring up Jeter because they're going to say, well, he never did steroids. He played to a certain age and he still. Hey, I don't know. We can't say somebody who did if there was no reports on them. But I would guarantee you if a big name was on something.
Bartolo Colon took steroids, and he looks like Andre the Giant's little brother.
Yeah. It's not for the muscles, guys. It's not all for what you think.
It's for recovery.
Right. This is what these drugs were invented for, essentially.
Okay, I'll show you the prototypical steroid player. We'll get off the steroids in about 5 minutes, but
it's a good discussion. It's a great discussion. Some of these are off the cuff.
Do I have them up? Do I have them up? Do I have them up? Yeah, here we go.
Let's see it.
It's a reliever. Guess the reliever.
Guess the reliever?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where.
Do. I'm gonna show you, and you'll be like, "Man, I should have got this one."
I'm having a bad day with these. Eric, you know what's funny? His name just crossed my mind.
Okay, Eric Gagne, guy who was on the list.
Right.
Okay. Again, what What's his role, or what was his role on a team?
To get the
He
last
was
three
a
out of the game.
closer. What do relief pitchers have to do? Sometimes they got
Multiple
to
innings,
pitch on back-to-back games. Sometimes
back
they
to
got to go
back.
3 games in a row.
Yeah, multiple innings sometimes even.
What did Eric Gagne do that no other, well, that not a lot of closers do? He won a Cy Young. In 2003, he won the Cy Young. He had 55 saves. He was basically unhittable
One of the best seasons of a closer ever.
ever.
Maybe the best season if you look at his
Yep.
numbers. I think he didn't blow a save for how many consecutive chances too.
So obviously he was a heavy user, right?
Yeah,
Because he had these from 2002 through 2004, 3 years where he was heavily used, heavily took steroids. Look at his games.
jeez.
And then he broke down. That's what happens when you take too much of the stuff. Now, this was all aided by steroids. Okay? And this is more of a black mark than someone like a Bonds or a Clemens. But again, let's just say he had a career like Bonds or a Clemens, and he became Mariano Rivera, and he had the most saves. You're telling me he can't be in the Hall of Fame because he took steroids? That's what I don't understand, and I'll never understand. Put an
Yeah,
asterisk next to the name and the award. Hey, he was a known PED
yeah.
user, and move on.
Or just put it up for the whole era. Yeah, but it happened. It's not like it didn't happen.
But
Then again, we're in an era where people, with somebody decided that Derek Jeter wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. One person.
well,
Of course, we know why that is, but I'm just saying.
if you want to talk about Derek Jeter, here's my take. Derek Jeter, since I have baseball reference up,
Go ahead.
Derek Jeter, in my opinion, his best season was in 2006.
Yeah, should have won the MVP that year.
Okay. He finished second. Do you remember who finished first?
I do. Wasn't it Morneau?
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. So that year, Jeter didn't get a first place vote, or something happened where he didn't get a vote needed to swing the tide,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it was a really close race. There was a writer, and I believe it was a Chicago writer, a beat writer, not like Endel Beat, like a national writer. It was a beat writer from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That year put A-Rod ahead of Jeter on the vote
2006,
in 2006.
which was not his best season with the Yankees.
So there's a lot of things with baseball that they need to improve.
Yeah.
How they vote for awards, how
Yeah,
they vote for the
man.
Hall of Fame, who they put in, what the criteria is. Like, all of this needs to be looked at, because it ruins the game. And when you have a player like Fernando Tatis, and this is going to bring it full circle, right?
Yeah.
When you have a player like Fernando Tatis, the first thing that I heard was, well, there goes his Hall of Fame. And I was like, well, that sucks, because
Yeah.
he's only 23. Let's say
We don't even
he
know.
plays till he's 40. He has 17 more years in the major leagues. He has an Adrian Beltre-like career, right? At worst, he has an Adrian Beltre-like career, where he's And Adrian Beltre is going to make the Hall of Fame. Probably first ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're at over 400 career home runs, 3,000 hits, all this stuff. Because he took a recovery thing for and got popped for 80 games. Oh, we're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that a fan shouldn't a fan shouldn't have to think about. And
No.
investors, because I'm heavily into sports cards. Can you imagine people that invested heavily in Fernando Tatis baseball cards? Now they've dropped in value because, oh, he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. Oh, he's not this. And like, it's such a crazy system that they've come up with.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't even know what the rest of his career is going to look like. If he has this crazy great career after this, never has another suspension, never has even any kind of hint of anything, you're telling me that this one time that whatever his bad excuse was, that's why he was so great afterwards.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times they test these guys, but it's got to be pretty good, especially when you test positive. I have a feeling. I know they say it's random, but I'm pretty sure they're testing these guys more than others. You can't tell me they're not watching these guys, which makes Cano's thing even worse.
Yeah. So
like, come on, guys.
Fernando Tatis, he started in 2019. Okay. At age of 20. Adrian Beltre, his first full year in the majors, also at 20. So let's bring this up. This will be the last comparison.
It's a good comparison.
Adrian Beltre, through age 20 through 39. So remember I said let's figure maybe he plays to 39 or 40.
Yeah.
If Tatis at worst compiles to Adrian Beltre's numbers, Adrian Beltre is going to be in the Hall of Fame. You're going to leave out that kind of production and that kind of player. And oh, by the way, Adrian Beltre is not looked as one of the superstars of the game that Tatis may be. So I'm saying at worst, this is Tatis' stat line at the end of his career. He could be in the realm of a 600 home run club. This is a serious problem.
Yeah.
They're not talking about it enough.
And we talk about the marketing of the game and everything like that. I mean, imagine watching these people for their whole career, like you said, investing money in their cards, just following your career. And now you're being told, oh, they're no good because one time they got popped for some recovery.
Yeah.
Another major problem with the game that's got to be addressed. Like you said, the voting, all this stuff, the stuff that Manfred really needs to be taking a look at.
And again, I don't know how much control Major League Baseball has with the Hall of Fame, but they could certainly work together to figure out a system that works. Put an asterisk. All right, this person's tested positive for steroids. You got to put it on the plaque. You got to put it somewhere.
Or on the thing in front of it, yeah.
Right? And I think people want to see it. People want to see these players at least I do.
Sure.
It's part of the history of the game. And people will say, like, the baseball purists will go, well, there's Barry Bonds memorabilia and there's Clemens in the hall. And that's cool. And if that's the case, why can't they just have a plaque in there that they achieved all these things and put the asterisk on the plaque or put something on the plaque that says steroid user based on this?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like anything that's in the Hall of Fame. Do they have random different, memorabilia? Is the 2017 World Series, does it have an asterisk? I know we've talked about that in the past. That's not steroids, but I'm just saying, where do we draw the line at this stuff?
I mean, if we did character assassinations on there'd be no one in the
I mean,
Hall of Fame. There'd
nobody.
be basically almost no one in the Hall of Fame, right?
There's no
Uh,
perfect people out
there's
there.
no perfect people. There was. I always heard this example growing up, but Ty Cobb was a racist. So
Yeah.
will you take Ty Cobb out of the Hall of Fame? Like,
No.
no, it was just a
Well,
terrible thing. Roberto Alomar, terrible human being. He's in the Hall of Fame.
yeah. Not going to take him out, even though maybe even more egregious in some eyes than getting popped for a little bit of a drug test.
Speaking of, we'll put a pin in this conversation. I'm sure it will get brought up again. We'll go into another topic, and that is the New York baseball Yankees. So, on a positive note, Aaron Judge looks like he's on pace for 66 home runs, according to the tracker.
He's ready at 100 RBIs as of last night now.
Now, I just thought of this, and I don't think this is possible because you play baseball to, win the game.
Yeah.
Is it almost like they want to stay competitive for Judge to get the home run title so they don't have to sit him the last couple weeks of the year and sell out more games? Like what's going on here? Because they're playing some of the worst baseball I've ever seen a
Yeah.
Yankee team play in my lifetime.
And we've seen some stretches over the last couple of years, but as far as an extended period of time, I don't think it's mind-boggling to have a start that you're gonna fall back a little. Like you said, you expected it, but to this level, they're not even. I think you told me you messaged me last night, say they have they have no drive, no fire, no anything right now. And the only person that has it is Judge. He's the only one out there trying every night. It looks like
it's Judge. Judge hits a home run when we recorded against Seattle.
Yeah.
They can't get the job done. He hits a home run last night. They can't get the job done. The glass slipper, the ruby slipper, whatever slipper it was, has fallen off of Clay Holmes. He's lost his confidence.
You
And
gotta.
now Chapman's regaining his confidence. Put him back in the closer role.
Yeah, the stubbornness. I don't get this. I was watching like we've seen, and when Holmes could be bad. I mean, he's been bad most time lately, but when he throws the first pitch almost into the third row of Fenway Park, it's right in front of your face. What are we doing here? Like, I understand it's his stuff right now. He's not locating the sinker. Yeah, that's kind of pitcher he is. He doesn't have anything else to fall back on. That's why he's not your standard closer. He was great at the moment. He filled in, did a tremendous job. All-star, great. Maybe he's just burnt out. He needs some time to figure it out. Phantom IL and whatever you got to do. Chapman's confident. You mean to tell me last night that he couldn't have got the job done in the ninth? I know he's given up stuff in the past, but I think right now he wants to show. He's got that drive in him.
He's got that smirk, like that cocky smirk.
He's got the swag back. I mean, what are we doing here? I even saw some of the moves I don't understand. They got this guy Efros. He comes there last night. He mows through them with this filthy slider.
Oh,
we take him out after one inning, and he threw 10 pitches?
It's good.
What are we doing? Why are we following this script again? This isn't Mariano Rivera.
Look at the base running.
Yeah, even that's Boone, what really gets me.
Boone got pissed last night. Donaldson with that, and Donaldson's calling for a replay. Boone yells like, "It's gonna be our one F-bomb." Like, what the fuck is going on here? Because they're making just the worst decisions on the base pads, and I don't understand. This has consistently been an issue with the Yankees for several years. They fire first base coaches, third base coaches, and they still can't get it right.
And a couple months ago, they were doing a little bit better, and everybody was like praising them for it. But now but maybe overall, if you looked at it, just not. It's not intelligent moves. Like, how do you get the other night in that Seattle game extra inning? How do you get like two batters to the plate in I think 2 consecutive innings or something like that, or something that's never happened before?
It's almost like Hal went down into the clubhouse and said, "Hey, we need to sell out the games in September. So could you
If you
guys
like
not
it.
play that well? And also, uh, we need Judge to keep playing. And if we have such a big lead, we're gonna have to sit him, and he's not gonna hit over 60 home runs. And we want him to break uh, the record of
Yeah.
Roger Maris's 61 because it, this is the only. How can
The
a
only
team go
logical
from
explanation.
being a great team, to completely falling apart to the
Yeah.
point where
Like,
I got to pull up the standings because
it's
I
just,
swear every show it's just getting weaker and weaker. Like the standings, like closer and closer in the East.
I would say the only thing they've been lucky for is the fact that the rest of the East just keeps beating up on each other and refuses to make a serious run at them. But it is getting closer.
Toronto's 10 games back.
Luckily for us, Toronto's just been losing this past week.
Toronto's lost 3 in a
Reason.
row. But Baltimore, okay,
Suddenly,
Baltimore 8-2 in their last 10. They're supplanted in that third wild card spot.
Yeah.
Baltimore's 8-10 in their last 10 games. You know what the Yankees are in their last 10 games?
Is it not
2-8?
2-8? Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be 2-8. Ridiculous. So they've gained. Let's see, 8-2, 2-8. So the Orioles on the Yankees have gained what, a net of what, 6, 5?
Yeah.
They've made this like a multi-team race.
I got to pull up the schedule here.
And I heard a lot of people saying, well, they were winning all those games early against softer schedule. That wasn't completely true. They did very well against Toronto, against Tampa, their own division. They played well against everybody but Houston. But now they've lost 2 season series to Seattle for the first time in several years. Many years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's just...
Okay, let's pull up the schedule.
Yeah, let's look at this.
Boston, okay.
It's a big homestand coming up.
Boston. Then we have... Okay.
Tampa.
This is grueling here, okay?
Yes.
So we come off this Boston series, go home to play Tampa for 3, Toronto for 4, and oh, by the way, the Metropolitans
for 2 more.
Who, again, in my opinion, with this Tatis news, even though the Dodgers have won 11 straight, the Mets are my pick to go to the World Series from the National League. Okay. The Yankees are very lucky that after that buzzsaw, they're going to play the A's and the Angels.
Yeah.
But, oh, by the way, what did the Yankees never do well?
Play well in Oakland.
Play well going out west.
On the West Coast trip in general, yeah. But especially Oakland of late.
Tampa, okay. The Twins, Tampa, Boston, the Brewers, who, oh, by the way, are in the Central race. The Pirates, we should beat them. The second half of this schedule, okay,
pretty brutal.
And the way that we're lining up, we may not even win 90 games the way we've been playing.
Which is like unfathomable start. Like, I don't think that has never happened to start they've had to maybe be able to win 90 games. And sadly, it's very possible. Because right now it looks like they'll never win a game again. You get to that point.
They look lifeless. They need Stanton back. They need Rizzo to work through this injury.
They need Stanton back, but they're holding him off. They're playing like these games don't matter. Like, oh, we're just going to take the month of August off.
They need
September with a tighter race.
They
frustrating, man.
And you're rolling out IKF at short. The dude, his OPS is worse than Joey Gallo's. Do you realize that?
I saw that.
Worse than Joey Gallo.
And yet, I think it's only recently that I'm seeing people complain about him. And I think on an early episode of the show, I didn't like the way he's playing defense. I didn't think he was hitting very well. I didn't see the.
He's a converted third baseman to short.
There was so many shortstops that were available, even if it wasn't one of the big name guys. Why I know we need a stopgap. Why him? Why do we make this trade?
Why isn't Peraza up right now?
Yeah, why? Because it's the Yankees. Literally any other team would be Peraza. The Braves call up what, a 20-year-old deal there, the young guy immediately home run.
It's the second time this year they've done something like that.
What we don't do that. We don't call them up, and by the time they call them up, and when they do, the people they do call up don't do well, and they ruin their value. That's all we do.
Miguel Andujar sucks. I'm sorry to say, he sucks.
So our last success for over a long period of time is Judge. Gleyber's had his moments, but
not Judge, but Andujar sucks.
Yeah, he does.
We ruined him. We put him. He was a third baseman. Then now he's in the outfield. He's not a good outfielder.
Can't hit. Can't do anything.
He can't hit.
We have outfielders down.
We got Albert Abreu pitching. Okay,
major innings.
When Clark Schmidt is mowing down people in AAA, stretched out.
Yeah. What are we waiting for?
Ron Marinaccio.
Yeah.
Been fantastic.
But
we put him in AAA.
He had to go down.
Why? Because we have.
Because he has options. He has options that Abreu does not. Enough of these options. Where's he going to go? The guy has been released twice this year. We can't fix everybody. This arrogance with we can make it. No. Matt Blake is great. He's not God. And like you said earlier in the year, they were going to burn out these guys. They did burn out all these guys. They're burnt.
And a lot of these guys,
they're on fumes.
Lost their confidence.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to get themselves back. And it's hard to get themselves back when you're doing it at the major league level.
Yeah. And this team
Loaizaga should be in the minors.
Yeah. He has an option. There's no reason for him to be here.
He
had one great season. That means that, there's a lot of guys that had one great season.
I told you early in the year, it was masked by how well the bullpen was doing early.
Yeah.
But when they lost Chad Green, that was a huge blow to that bullpen.
It was. And a lot of people didn't like Green, and at times I didn't like what he was doing, but he was relied heavily upon. And more often than not, he came through. It seemed like, he gave a big hit. I said, yeah, because he's used a lot. But more often than not, he did what he had to do. And now, like you said, you're relying on a guy that's never closed before. He had a good run, but he's not a dominant pitcher. He's a sinker baller. If you lose your sinker ball, we'll ask Chin-Min Wang what happened to him when he got injured. He couldn't keep that ball down.
Well, my gut feeling is if they continue on this path as a team, they may slip into the wild card. If they slip into that wild card, or they slip into the third spot where they have to play, they don't get the bye, they are going to get absolutely smashed by whatever team it doesn't matter what team they're going to play. If they have to play the Guardians, okay? I don't know why I picked the Guardians, but they have to play the Guardians. You got Bieber, you got Savali, you got all those arms. You got probably the best closer in the American League this year in Class A. I would pick Cleveland right now over. Yeah, I would pick almost any team in baseball right now.
Yeah, if we had to play a playoff series against who's the worst team in baseball, we couldn't beat the Reds.
No, the Athletics I'd be scared of right now too.
Yeah, just the way they're playing. Just there's no, and they have this belief that suddenly they're going to wake up. This isn't the '90s Yankees.
Gleyber, after having a really good first half,
completely fallen off a cliff.
And it's the effort.
Yeah, I think we brought it up in the last episode. It's just I'm fully with you on that now. He does have to go.
He has to go. Hicks has to go. Donaldson has to go.
Yeah, we know this. This has to be done.
IKF, should he be playing?
No. There's no reason to keep him. Like, what is he? What is he making? We can't. At least you mean to tell me Peraza, who's somebody you were so reluctant to part with, you can't bring him up right now, and at least be a little bit more productive than IKF. I'm sure he'd make a lot better play. Even if he's nervous, he'd probably make some better plays.
He will accidentally hit more home runs than IKF.
I think you or I right now could go out there, face a guy throwing 100 and maybe hit a home run after, if you gave us a couple hundred pitches.
Jeez. Let me
Doesn't
bring
make
up
sense,
the standings before we sign off.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I know a lot of people, nobody's going to cry for us, but jeez.
I said I was like, I am worried about this team. I'm worried about that they got off to too much of a hot start here.
They're so streaky, and then we saw this last year. When they pitch well, they all pitch well. When they hit well, they all hit well. Well, maybe not all, but more or less. When they don't, it spirals, and that's not a mark of a good team. No matter how many games are up in the standings, how many games we won so far, which is a good thing they did, clearly, because if they didn't, they'd be completely out of the race right now if this was still going on.
You can see it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So Houston, obviously, best record. Yankees are still within shouting distance, but it's
losing that season series against them didn't help matters, clearly. The only thing they have in their benefit is if they could just finish with that second seed, they would get the bye as well, as I think we brought up the last show.
Yeah.
Right now,
the saving grace is that the Central is so bad.
Yeah.
In the way that the playoffs are set up, is that even if Seattle was to have a better record than the Yankees, they're still a wild card team.
Yeah. That's
what they might want to do in the future is if one of these teams has a better record than the division winner, they should actually be slotted here. It should go by record.
You don't see very often.
They've been playing good ball, and they got Julio Rodriguez back yesterday, drove in 2. But, Cleveland in first place.
What a job again.
Minnesota nipping at their heels. Then we have National League, where the Padres, if Milwaukee can get on a little streak here.
That's not such a sure thing anymore.
Yep.
I think Atlanta and Philly, as long as they keep on their pace, I think they're making it.
Yeah.
They're pretty locked in.
It's
San Diego. Yeah, San Diego and Milwaukee. That's the battle here. It's not going to be the Giants, Arizona, these other teams. That's the real battle in the National League.
Yep. No, the Dodgers won't be overtaken for first.
I don't think the Cardinals are either.
And I don't think the Mets care being the second seed.
No, I don't either.
If the Mets can hold on and get the bye, they're going to end up being go to Vegas, go to your online betting app or whatever. I would bet the house on the Mets to make it out of the National League.
The only one that could take them down possibly is the Dodgers, but if you look head to head, like I said, these guys, all things considered, everybody's staying healthy. I know the Mets had a couple injuries last night, but as long as they have that 1-2 punch,
Philly is going to get Bryce Harper back.
Huge, obviously.
It's a huge. Now, if they can get enough out of Nola, Eflin, Thor, Wheeler, that staff, they're a sleeper. They're a sleeper.
Yeah.
Their biggest problem is their bullpen.
Still a problem, yeah.
But, all right, folks, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed by now and you're still watching, what are you doing? Fire Frank, anything to say to the audience before we bid adieu?
Yeah. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for all the feedback. I I really appreciate it. You guys not thank you. I said this on our other program on the channel. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch or listen to us talk baseball. There's a lot of shows out there. For you to actually take time of your week to listen to us ramble on about baseball, it really means a lot to me. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you. And as I say with each sign off, good night and good luck. Farewell.